Well, hey, everybody, this is Tim Eyman. We're going to be doing a Facebook Live here for a little while, and it's going to be really neat. Anthony Mixer has invited me down to the Capitol. We're down at the Capitol, and what is going to really make this thing special is Anthony Mixer is going to be interviewing me about yesterday's court hearing, but back by popular demand, my daughter, Riley, will be playing a critical role where she will be recording the thing and providing her own commentary on the interview. So with that, we will turn it over to Riley, who will now be our camera person.
Hi.
So do you have any thoughts, Riley, on the fact that you are playing this role?
No.
She has no thoughts.
I'm just gonna stand here and hold the camera.
She's gonna hear, and we will be talking for a while here. So we're down here in Olympia. For those people that are interested, of course, you can watch it later at all times. But what's really going to be cool about this is talking about yesterday's court hearing. I gave a little snippet yesterday about this court hearing and court victory, and with Anthony doing this interview for that, we just thought this would be a much longer version of it where we can really get into the details of it. And of course, I wanted to show off her. So she is 13 now, as many of you remembered throughout the our time. How many times were we out there with Lauren's campaign?
A lot.
We were out there a lot, and I would ask the crowd, how old is this young lady? How many people think she's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16? I got all the way up to 18 people were cheering, thinking she was 18. And then I would turn it over to her, Riley, how old are you?
12, but now.
But now.
We can't say that. I'm 13 now.
Never a prouder father. So anyway, she's a bit of a ham. She's a bit of has got a little swagger to her, and so there's a tremendous amount of pride here. I think she may have gotten some of it from her dad. So anyway, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do Facebook Live for a little while. We'll talk about the court case. Anthony is over there getting set up, so you guys can just start to gravitate toward Facebook Live for a little while. I think it's going to be really, really cool. So we will interact with me and my daughter here for a little bit while more people come on. Riley, you turned 13. And what did I say about you turning 13? I told her you've been 13 for 5 years.
Yes.
Because she is an old soul. She is an absolute old soul. So anyway, so it's really, really going to be cool. So it was originally going to be just me and Anthony, and then just at the last minute, I contacted her and said, Riley, would you want to come along?
Technically, I contact you. I go, I'm going to come down to Bellevue to meet Carol's cat. And you go, do you want to come down to Olympia with me?
That's exactly right. That's exactly how it rolled out and stuff. So I thought we would just be listening to music on the way down. Was all the music appropriate for public consumption?
No.
Not really good stuff. Scary. But we were listening to Hamilton. There's some really good stuff about Hamilton on there. She went to, actually tell us about that. You went to see the play Hamilton, did you not?
Yes, in London.
And did you like it?
A little bit.
Loved it. She loved it. It's an amazing, amazing positive thing. And so she got hooked on all the music from Hamilton.
You learn a lot of history when you listen to the music.
Learn about founding fathers, and we were just talking about
the Federalist Papers.
Federalist Papers. How many total Federalist Papers were there?
Originally there were supposed to be 25, but in the end they wrote 85.
85, and how many were done by each person?
James Madison got sick after writing 5. John Jay got sick after writing 5. James Madison wrote 29, and Hamilton wrote 51.
51 by Hamilton.
In the span of 6 months.
In the span of 6 months, and what age did Hamilton die?
47.
47. So, what is one of the songs that's on there that he says over? Why is it you act like you're running out of time?
Non-stop, and it's because he writes like he's running out of time, because he never stops writing and he never stops working.
Does that sound like somebody we know? Oh, I love it so. I love it so. So it's really kind of a cool deal. So anyway, it looks like Anthony's getting set up. So she will grab the phone and we will continue to commentate. Is that a verb? Is that a word, Riley? Commentate?
Why are you asking me?
I don't know. To commentate, to comment, to come on. Now, of course, guess what, guys? Facebook Live is optional. If this ends up getting not interesting, you can stop watching. It's a free country, but I just thought this would be a good opportunity for us to be able to see behind the scenes. Anthony Mixer, by the way, is running for fire commissioner in
Lewis County Fire District 6.
Lewis County.
Fire.
Oh, what happened? Rotate your phone. Rotate, I think it's that way. There it is. So he's running for, and he's going to interview me, so he's probably not going to talk as much about his race. So me and you can talk about it right now. It's very cool. He's running for fire commissioner position.
Lewis County, District
It's
6.
just a commission board position. There's really no number.
It's not a number. Very good. So in Lewis County, and one of the things that struck me with what he was talking about, he said he wants to be able to start getting the next generation of people moving up in the political process and everything. Does this again sound like a cool reason why to bring Riley down here, because she is the next generation as well. So anyway, we take a look around our campus and I see no state patrol. I don't see as fencing, and so we seem to be moving a tad more normal toward the time. But supposedly, Riley, June 30th, Jay Inslee says everything's going to go back to normal. Percentage confidence that will actually happen. I put it at about 10%.
Yeah, about 10.
About 10. So I think of Lucy, Charlie Brown, and the football when it comes to Jay Inslee's promise that June 30th is going to be the day. All the other states, it's like June 15th is the latest with all of them. But no, we're all the way to June 30th. And even that, I have trepidation. Word of the day, trepidation. I think it's trepidation, but that's okay. So as we can see, Anthony is getting set up. He's got water. It's all doing, you're going to flip it around. So how do you want to do this? What's cool. Do our magic. Are we doing jacket song? This time.
I'm going to do it.
He's very, very respectable individual. And this is good. Is this good when it comes to squinting? You're wearing glasses.
I am wearing glasses that
Okay. Technically in politics, you're not supposed to wear glasses because people don't trust people that they can't see their eyes. So many times you'll see elected officials wearing glasses, and I always shake my head and go, that's one of the rules, is wear glasses because they can't see your eyes and they can't notice their interactions because you express yourself very much through the eyes.
So maybe I shouldn't be in politics because I'm nearsighted.
That's what it is. No. If you need them, that's different. Oh, I thought you were just wearing sunglasses. I thought you were just doing sunglasses. So never mind. I thought it was just I saw Riley wearing sunglasses earlier, and I said, oh, that's okay. She'll be our camera person.
Lori Lane has commented.
Yay, Lori! Lori was there yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. So nice. There were 3 people that ended up showing up at the hearing yesterday. It was really, really neat. New guy I met, John. Lori Lane, who I adore, who's come to a lot of my court stuff. And Dawn Ackerman. And she's just beautiful. They're just all beautiful inside and out. Loved them all. Very supportive. And Anthony will be asking me about yesterday's hearing.
A little bit about that. We're going to ask about taxes, what happened in the legislative session this year, capital gains.
All sorts of topics. I love it. This is wonderful. So we will have a broad spectrum of topics. And then Anthony will be posting his thing.
Probably within 2-3 days.
2 to 3 days. So he's going to be putting it out then. So this is like a kind of behind the scenes deal. So you can see behind his camera and you'll get multiple opportunities to be able to see it. But important, he's running for fire commissioner in Lewis County. Tim's big supporter of his running on that one, and so we really hope that you guys support him. So very, very cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. So we got people aimlessly wandering about. That's all good. That's all good. How do you normally do this? Anthony actually does this regularly. He's done this with who all has he done?
I have done some of this thing.
Cool.
Otherwise, I'm like really done people around the nation, asking about their involvement in politics and where everything's at.
Love it.
And so, yeah, that's what we try to do. And my co-host Joseph Lincoln and I will probably get a podcast going as soon as we graduate with me.
I love it. This is so cool. Now, it's kind of flipping hot down here, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, which is good for Washington. We're not used to this at all, having one and everything. So we'll kind of turn it over to him at this point. It's his show, his deal, and every once in a while, Riley may make a snide comment about something that I'm saying, or Dad just said something that's not true, or whatever. She'll be my truth teller. So every once in a while, she'll.
Bob Ferguson is a bigger liar.
So Riley may be playing a more active role than your average camera person. So just something to look forward to. Normally, our interviews go
About a half hour.
About 30 minutes. About 30 minutes. Emphasis. It's Facebook Live. It's optional, people. You don't have to stay on the whole time. You can leave. You can come back. You can watch it later. So just, we live in a free country. Reasonably free. Where even Jay Inslee can't force you to watch this video. So you're not allowed to do that. And so as a result, it's going to go for a while. But I think you'll learn a lot. I think it'll be kind of some good perspectives and stuff like that. It'll mostly be true. No, I'm just kidding around. What was the joke we were saying on the way, Riley? Is that in my industry, almost all the time, it doesn't have to be 100% true.
Oh, yeah.
That's like terrible.
If it's close to the truth, it's okay.
See, isn't this terrible? Just these influences of politics, but this is the behind-the-scenes story of the whole thing. And what I just said will probably pop up in a court hearing by Bob Ferguson and used against me. You say, there he is on Facebook Live saying stuff. It's all good. It's all good. But yesterday, just a little preview. Yesterday was a court hearing on the ballot title that was been assigned to one of my initiatives on the getting rid of Inslee's capital gains income tax. And it was a huge victory because by judicial roulette, I happened to draw a judge who's brand new to the court. So
Inslee has not stuffed him in his pocket yet.
Exactly. But was named to the court but was new. So this was our first ballot title challenge he'd ever seen, and it was on one of my initiatives. Now, I've filed nearly 80 versions of this initiative since January. And the reason it's had to evolve is I'm learning the bill that eventually passed. They kept adapting to it and moving it. So sometimes the tax would be imposed in one section, then later versions of the bill, they would move it. And it was almost like they were tracking me, tracking them. And so it was really funny, just this cat and mouse game along the way. But eventually they had to pass it. And so they did pass it. This is one of the versions of the initiative. And I chose on this particular one to challenge that in court. 99 times out of 100, the judge just rubber stamps whatever the Attorney General, how they want to describe your ballot measure. But this one was so out of line and so wrong in so many ways that I thought this one was worth the fight. And instead of spending campaign money on a lawyer, I handled the case myself. And my rates are very reasonable. I don't charge anything. So I did it for free. So I did all the briefing and did all the work. Thank you. And because I've done so many ballot title challenges before, and I've hired attorneys that are really good ones that have represented them. But at the end of the day, it's more about the merits of the argument, and it's much more about whether or not the AG has just gone completely out of line. So I viewed it as, what do I got to lose? I have everything to gain. And at the end of the day, I can lose for free. Where when you hire an attorney, you get to pay whether you win or you lose. So for all those reasons, I handled it myself, and I did a very short Facebook Live afterwards saying that it was a huge victory. And some people kind of got confused by that. They thought, oh, so we've gotten rid of the tax now? And it's like, no, there's just an important step in the process, which is the description. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Right. So anyway, with that, rambling point, we're behind the scenes. We've seen him wiring up. Riley will show some shots of him doing all this. So this is what it looks like. So, but it's all good.
All right, ready to go?
Yeah. Had a really fun night last night, celebrating it and everything. Maybe I celebrated a smidge too much, but I feel pretty good about it. And it was such a great day. I was very, very excited about it. So it was neat. I'm so grateful to Dawn and to Lori and to John for coming down. They said we were hoping more people would come. I said I was surprised that anybody came because it was 3:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, and I totally understand our supporters work for a living. And
so do I, and I would have been there
exactly.
if I wouldn't have been working.
So
I could have came. I was out of school and I didn't have cheer till 6.
If I had known that, I might have got to that. But I didn't know I was going to turn out. There was one cameraman for one TV station, but the judge didn't make a decision right there on the spot, and so I doubt they ended up doing a story on the news. But it was still a big deal, the fact that at least one news station saw it as important enough to even send a camera crew. So I felt like it was a victory.
All right, you ready to go?
Yeah!
All right, let's do this. All right, greetings everyone, and welcome back to the Freedom File. I'm Anthony Mixer, co-host, and today I have a Washington State legend with me right here, Tim Eyman. So, Tim, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thank you very much for having me on, Anthony. It's going to be very, very, very cool. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, this will be. So, how long have you been doing initiatives here in Washington State?
22 years. The first one I got involved with was in 1995, so do the math. 5 plus 21, 26 years. Yes,
26 years. All right. And so, Tim, I do want to ask you, how did you feel about this whole legislative session being in the online world?
Man, the virtual legislative session. It really deterred the natural power of the voter. Where I've come down here many times in legislative hearings, especially like for gun rights.
Right.
And the Second Amendment people were able to show up with hundreds upon hundreds of people and would have a huge impact on the legislative hearing, on the dynamic of it, and you weren't able to generate that same kind of enthusiasm because it was all virtual. Everyone's separate, and you could tell that the Second Amendment people really got, just as an example, short shrift during the session where they snuck through a lot of sneaky stuff that wouldn't have gotten away with if it hadn't been a virtual hearing with fences and blocked off participation.
Yes. So you did participate in some committee hearings virtually, and of course some of the Democratic chairs, they shut you down. And so don't you think that this looks like a dangerous move in silencing the opposition to their agenda?
It really is interesting that if they just allowed me to talk, it would not be that interesting. I mean, I'm not saying massively provocative things. I'm just saying the emperor has no clothes. I question this Second Amendment bill because you're trying to limit just as an example, just not all taxes, but we were talking about the Second Amendment earlier. I testified on the bill that said we want to limit the number of limit the size of magazines that can be used. And I said, well, the Second Amendment says shall make no law infringing on this right. And I said, it's just like the First Amendment. Could you imagine if there was a bill that said you can speak, but your sentences must be only 14 words long?
Yeah.
Everyone would think that's absurd.
Exactly.
So I was trying to use that metaphor for the Second Amendment to say, well, you can't limit the number of sentences people can use, the number of words people can use. How can you limit the number of times a person should be able to personally protect themselves using a constitutional right like the Second Amendment? They did not like hearing things that they disagreed with. And I'm like, Jiminy Christmas, we're virtual.
Yeah.
There's no danger. These are words, and you're gaveling me down for these things. It was it really exposed the fascist side of them, that if they don't like what's being said, shut it down.
Exactly. And so this year, the Democrats did bring in and shoved through this illegal income tax under the guise of an excise tax on the wealthy. So where do you see this headed right now as it's being challenged in the courts?
Well, it's really interesting. The thing that's good is it's kind of being attacked on all fronts. That's important. You know, you never put all your eggs into one basket. So there's litigation going on. So former Attorney General Rob McKenna recently announced that he has a coalition of people that are suing it in court. And I believe it's in Douglas County Superior Court. Then there's the Freedom Foundation. Tom McCabe, I will love him forever. Tom McCabe Freedom Foundation doing their own lawsuit. Very good. I filed a referendum on it, and as everyone predicted, the government rejected it because the Democrats had created something that had never been seen before. A necessity clause had been added to the measure. There's a thing called an emergency clause you can add to a bill. That's commonly known and been done for years to make bills referendum proof, to immunize themselves. These guys fabricated something brand new called a necessity clause. We're really able to put enough attention on that. The media was distracted by a lot of things, and so they made it referendum proof. But they can't make a bill initiative proof. And so I've been, since literally last December, pursuing various versions of initiatives in order to be able to overturn it and let the voters make the decision. I would argue, and I'm trying to make the public argument, that the referendum was doomed to fail anyway. So the necessity clause, making it immune to referendum, probably did us a favor because it kept us from being distracted by that option, because it is a fool's errand. The Attorney General always monkeys with the description to make it sound so ridiculously favorable, and then the voters have to vote, sign the petition saying they support it, and then reverse themselves and vote no on the measure. So referendums are very confusing. Initiatives, very straightforward. So for example, the initiative that I designed says that this would prohibit the state, the counties, the cities from imposing or collecting any tax that's based on income, and then it goes on to say, and would repeal this tax that was based on income that was passed during the legislative session. It allows the voters to be able to vote yes on prohibiting this. You sign the petition because you support it, and then you vote yes for the initiative. That makes sense to voters.
It does.
Sign the petition, vote yes. So it's a much better approach. And so, but I like the fact there's lawsuits, but the reason why I think those might be unsuccessful has nothing to do with the arguments. Rob McKenna has the better argument. Freedom Foundation has the better argument. Jason Mercier with the Washington Policy Center has the better argument, saying for years the Supreme Courts have always said it doesn't matter what you call it. If it functions like an income tax, it's illegal under our Constitution. We have current justices on the Supreme Court don't give a flying butt about legal precedents. They most have been named by Jay Inslee to the court. You have to imagine 5 of them overturning the Democrats' top legislative priority is this bill. I just don't think that's the football field you want to be fighting on. You want to be fighting on a football field where you're not asking 9 bought-off judges that all said we were confused by $30 tabs, to turn around and undermine the Democrats' agenda. Seems better to go to the voters, the same voters that have 10 times said no to an income tax, and say to them, don't you want to get rid of not just this one, but let's prohibit any future one. And so but there is an old saying, and it is one of my favorites, when you're a hammer, all you see is nails. So I'm the initiative guy. So of course, I'm going to say the best solution is an initiative, but I've been trying to spend the last couple of months persuading people that the referendum approach was doomed to fail. I don't think the court approach is the best option, but I'm not saying don't explore all options. I'm just saying if you really want to have the best shot of getting rid of this thing is by going to the same people, to the voters. That's our audience, not justices, our voters, and ask them, do you really want this thing? And I just think it's going to be a blowout if we can get it on the ballot and let the voters vote on it.
Right, and of course that falls under what you're going to do about it. And so you did have a victory Friday on getting this initiative on the ballot, correct?
Well, it was a very cool thing. Now, I did a very short video afterwards saying I declare victory. It was a huge victory in court, and suddenly everyone's thinking, oh, there's no capital gains tax anymore.
Yeah.
Eyman won in court. What do we need Rob McKenna for? Eyman's in here, getting knocked down. I'm like, well, no, it wasn't that. It was a piece of the process. It was a piece of the process. So the way ballot measures work in the state of Washington is an initiative sponsor sponsors it, but the initiative sponsor is not allowed to describe it. It's described by the Attorney General, and it's called a ballot title. And a ballot title is supposed to be a neutral description of what the ballot measure does. And what I did in court was something that no lawyer would ever do, is that I spent a lot of my time not just fighting for this ballot title, but was to prove that Attorney General Bob Ferguson is doing something no Attorney General had ever done in history. And I'm talking about Rob McKenna and Gregoire and all the other Attorney Generals prior, is he has two ways to describe initiatives and measures. If he agrees with the initiative, county governments and city governments from imposing any kind of tax based on income. Bob Ferguson kept that a secret and put that nowhere in the initiative. And then he said, I said, Judge, you should put the rate of the tax in the ballot title. I said, it's just as absurd as to say this initiative would lower car tab fees to a certain dollar amount, but not name the actual dollar amount. It was absurd as that. He wants to say this would repeal legislation imposing a capital gains tax on excise tax or whatever. I go, shouldn't the rate be in there? 7%?
Yes.
And the Attorney General said that if we put the rate in there and let voters know what the percentage is, that would create bias against the legislation and therefore in favor of the initiative. And I, just incredulous, said, Your Honor, they're arguing that if you tell voters what's in the bill that they just passed, if you tell them it's a 7% rate, that voters will be more inclined to be, in favor of the initiative. I said, but I have a court case where just in 2018, they were in court defending their ballot title, and they specifically said, saying what's in the initiative cannot create bias. Saying what's in the initiative cannot create bias because it is what it is. If it's a 7% rate, you shouldn't hide this information. So the long-winded answer, I'm long-winded. Riley, will you attest to the fact that I'm long-winded? Yes, I'm very long-winded. Very simple question, long answer. But the thing was, the victory was this Attorney General, in his response, it was on the screen, it was on Zoom, I was there live, and he comes back and he goes, we concede that the state, county, and city should appear in the ballot title. Right off the bat, it was a victory. I mean, before we even started. But then they took issue with the other arguments I was making, saying, no, we should keep voters in the dark over the rate. We should keep voters in the dark over the fact that this is prohibiting the imposition and collection of this tax. They were doing everything they could to save this piece of legislation, and I was doing everything I could with a brand new judge to say, Your Honor, you are the Supreme Court. Ballot titles don't get appealed. You are the Supreme Court on this one, and you have to guard against a bias where this Attorney General has an animus toward this petitioner. We have this court case and this court case, and they're coming after me. Your job is to make sure that this thing is neutral and doesn't create bias. And don't you think in this case, it's self-evident that they are trying to undermine it by keeping it secret what the rate is, keeping it secret what governments it's affecting? Would they treat a liberal initiative this way? And it was like, the thing that felt great to me when I walked out of it was, one, there were 3 people there supporting me, and I was like so gratified by that. But what I felt so good about is for the last 8.5 years, I've been in a pitched battle with Bob Ferguson where he's been coming after me. And it was the first time I was allowed to kind of go on offense against him and put him on the defensive for a while.
Right.
And that felt great. And the other thing that felt great is that this judge was resonating with her. I could tell it was resonating with her. And she said, I'm not going to decide today. This is my first one. I want to get it right. I will be issuing my decision. But she was sending quite a few signals that, well, instead of the word and, maybe we should use the word including, because this is, you're trying to prohibit all these various taxes, including this one. Isn't the word including better than the word and? And Your Honor, that's a very good point. That would actually improve the ballot title quite a bit. I hadn't thought of that. So here she was, again, 99 times out of 100, a judge will just say, AG, you got it right. This is a judge who is willing to actually look with a critical eye toward this. And I think it's because I showed her the track record over the last 8 years of how this AG, if he's for it, described one way. If he's against it, describes it another.
Yes. Okay, so we also saw the low carbon fuel standard passed along with other climate change policies that's going to affect gas prices and utilities. So you also are going to start an initiative on that, aren't you?
Did. We filed, me and Sid Mieto and Larry Jensen are all sponsoring these initiatives. One, to try and stop this capital gains income tax, and also the low carbon fuel standard and the cap and tax proposal. I frankly filed a referendum on both of those policies, as well as the initiative, And so the people that are in favor of the cap and tax and in favor of the low carbon fuel standard are challenging the ballot title. And so we're going to be in court arguing over that ballot title. As skewed a ballot title in favor of the legislation as it is, they are doing this in order to delay the time you have for a referendum. But so we're going to fight over that one. But I've also filed initiatives on the same topic, and it's the same kind of theme. It's, let's not just get rid of this one, but let's make sure that we don't have any carbon standard or any cap and tax unless all 50 states have to participate also.
Right.
Because the idea is we're slashing our own throats with these policies. Some states have it, some states don't. Why are we putting ourselves at a competitive disadvantage? And I think the average voter is going to look at that as being better, because you're not saying no to the idea of a carbon standard. You're not saying no to cap and tax. You're saying, if we're going to do this thing, let's do it, all of us. If Biden does it, or if the national government does it, at least we're all slashing everybody's throat. Right. And no one will have an incentive, or businesses won't have an incentive to move to a state that doesn't have it, because we're all going to be stuck with it. I am obviously against the policies, but I know some voters are in favor of them. I think there's a lot of voters, though, that are kind of in the middle. I'm in favor of it, but I don't like the idea that we're going to be at a competitive disadvantage compared to a lot of other states, because I think we saw Boeing move to South Carolina, because of policies that only affected us but didn't affect South Carolina.
Right.
Why is it going to be any different with the carbon standard and the cap and tax? So the thing that I'm excited about and proud of is that they want it to be a fight just about this one bill, and I want the fight to be about the broader rationale behind it. If we're going to have an income tax, shouldn't it have to be a constitutional amendment, for example?
Right.
Shouldn't they have to follow the rules? They broke the rules when it came to the capital gains tax. I believe they're insane to impose these environmental policies that don't affect every state. And so I think by broadening it, you can do that with initiatives. You can't do that with referendums. Referendums, it's just this bill. Do you want it, yes or no? I think voters want a broader discussion, and initiatives allow you to be able to do that. So, I'm a Johnny One Note. Initiatives are the way to be able to make a difference. Even when they throw roadblocks in our way, even though they're difficult and they're expensive and they're tough, why do you think they fight them so hard? Because they know it's the one group of people that they can't buy off. They can buy off Supreme Court justices, but voters, though, very open-minded. I'm willing to vote for liberal initiatives sometimes. I'm willing to vote for conservative initiatives sometimes. You got a shot. And so for that reason, the carbon policies, I'm frankly approached all the time. And, if we had unlimited funds, I'd love to do 50 initiatives because there's so much crap that happened this legislative session. They all would be good ones, but you've got to prioritize and pick your battles. And I thought of everything they did, biggest Pandora's box is this capital gains income tax, because if they get away with that, they'll eventually hit everybody. And the income and the low carbon fuel standard and the cap and tax are just so destructive, because there's just so many other states that will just be happy to accept all of our businesses that are just going to say bye-bye Washington.
Yes. All right, we're going to stop right there and take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with more questions with Tim Eyman right after this.
Live. So we're going to keep going.
I had to restart a new one because they couldn't hear us.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, cool.
No, I started it basically right away.
Oh, and so you flipped totally
Basically,
fine.
yeah.
So are we still on? Are we still going? Or
Yeah, we're still on.
Okay, cool. So let's just tell them that. Just tell them what just happened.
So yeah, we had to come off of Facebook Live. It was about 10 minutes ago because the people watching could not hear us. They're like, we can't hear you. We can see that you're talking, but we can't hear you, so I had to restart it.
So that's excellent. And so that is something that we would not have known if it wasn't for Riley. Riley saved the day, as usual. And so now what? You're just going to sit closer? Is that that would work?
No,
it?
they full on couldn't hear you. The sound didn't work.
Oh, so by restarting, okay, now is everybody in comments
yeah,
saying they can hear now?
People are saying good job, Tim, you're awesome.
Oh, well, we don't need to get into the compliments, but yeah, can people hear us?
Can you guys hear us?
Can you hear us? Someone make a comment saying, yes, we can hear you. Rotate your phone. It just said rotate your phone. Wright is watching. Tammy Gray, I love you. Juliana Olson, you're all being outed for watching this, so be careful. A drone will be outside your house any moment from Bob Ferguson. Looking over your shoulder for watching this. But is anybody going to tell us whether or not you can hear us? Tim, you explain things so well, that makes a difference. But did you hear me? But can you hear us, Lori?
I'm guessing they can hear us.
All right, that's nice. That's nice. But Lori was one of them who ended up coming yesterday, and she was just very, very nice, and it was awesome. So anyway, we are hearing us, so that's great. Riley saves the day again. We love Riley, and she's no longer 12. 13. And you became 13. How recent?
May 6th.
May 6th. So
Which
very
would
recent.
be...
My birthday is May 12th, so we're 6 days apart.
Hey!
I love it.
Okay, they can hear us.
Excellent.
Lori just confirmed.
Victory
is
death. Oh, that's the slogan. Flip it around.
It's victory is ours.
Victory is ours. I always like to say victory or death, because given the choice, I would rather have victory. Victory. So isn't Riley doing an awesome job? We want comments on Riley doing well. Oh, we have to bring back the tradition. All right. So there is a Tim Eyman Legal Defense Fund. It's timdefense.com.
Oh, we did that.
We did this. This is so awesome. So it's timdefense.com. Timdefense.com. If you go there and you donate and you say in the comments that you've donated money, Riley will cheer.
And comment how much. The amount determines how loud I cheer.
See, that's we prioritize.
We also did that in a restaurant.
It's so shameless. It's so shameless. But we did this. It was so much fun.
I was on his phone and I saw this person donated $50. I go, yay!
And then what happened when somebody gave $100?
Yay!
And then what happened when somebody gave $200?
Yay!
Yay! yay! And she like freak out. And so it's really funny. So yes, so anybody who's donating to timdefense.com, that's timdefense.com, go there, donate, say the dollar amount, and you will hear from Riley. And it's worth it. Oh, she's going to add to it. So anyway, we will go back to your deal. But anyway, I just think this is the flippin' funniest thing. She was getting so many people to donate because it would, yay! Yay! And then, yay! And it was like, oh,
Yay!
wow.
Go Lori!
Go Lori!
Just want to say real quick, I endorse. Go ahead and donate to the Legal Defense Fund right now.
Yay!
TimDefense.com. TimDefense.com. So anyway,
You can even do $30 if you want.
how ironic.
It'll pay for your car tabs.
It's the only way you'll get $30 is if you donate $30. Yeah, that's the only $30 that the Supreme Court won't allow us to take away. So, anyway, yeah, we'll dive back in. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, so we're doing our.
I think it's on
We're doing
photo.
a second round because I was afraid that my phone, the other one I had, was gonna run out of time.
And it's almost like he's running out of time. Like he's running out of time.
Why do you write like you're running out of
So
time?
this could be like, instead of a 30-minute interview, maybe 40 minutes.
But it's Hamilton. We were making a Hamilton reference. You know, what's the song, Riley?
It's called Non-Stop.
Long Stop. And what's it about?
Non-Stop.
Non-stop. And what's the theme?
It's
of
about how Hamilton never stops writing and he never makes time for anything but writing.
Say maybe he had an obsession.
All right. Let's go back at it.
Go.
Oh, Dad, one of your friends was making fun of you.
What's that?
One of your friends was making fun of you of how you let go of your hair.
How I let go of my hair?
Apparently.
How I let go of my hair? I don't
Like, stopped caring about it.
Stop caring about it. I don't understand. My hair? I don't know.
I think.
I did get a big haircut, today, and look at the crown. I got like nothing left, so I went full Matt Lauer and just say, I'm accepting reality. I'm not doing the sleep or anything. I've just accepted my world and it's going away. All right, we're rolling. So.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Freedom File. And we are here with Tim Eyman, initiative sponsor and total legend here in Washington State. All right, so let's talk about this year's budget that came out of the session. So the Democrats spent way more money this year, and it totaled to $59.6 billion. And of course, only 3 years ago, I believe it was just 32% less spending. So doesn't this show that even in the last 3 years, if not the 9 that Jay Inslee has been sitting in that mansion, that spending is just getting way out of control?
It is. The thing that I observed is that Mike Lowry was elected governor in 1992. And back then, he was considered the most liberal governor ever. And they had a completely crazy legislative session in 1993 where they went so out of control with taxes and spending that everybody freaked out, and they passed an initiative to put strict limits on it, and this crazy liberal governor signed into law a budget of $15 billion. He was considered crazy liberal because he took it to $15 billion. And here's Jay Inslee, $59 billion. And I look back and I say, Mike Lowry, the rock-ribbed conservative governor of Washington. We had Mike Lowry back in the conservative days, and now Jay Inslee has set a standard that we just can't even relate to. You can't even put your mind wrapped around it, and it creates what they call a bow wave, is that once you establish this number, it just grows from there, so the taxes have to grow exponentially in order to keep up with it. And so it's just creating an unsustainable, and that's the word. It is simply unsustainable. You can't have this massive growth like this because there's a limit on how much the taxpayers can afford. And it just keeps going higher and higher. So was a crazy legislative session. I think they got away with it, because again, it was virtual. I think there were actual people down here. I don't think they would have done it, but they thought they could get away with it because they said, well, we never had really any huge pushback for doing it. Well, of course you didn't. You had fences around the entire place, you know. So I thought it was a really dangerous session, a really bad session, and so we have to pick our battles. Where can we fight back the most effectively? And obviously, I think with ballot measures is the way to do it.
Right. Okay, and I'm just going to say this: that you have saved the taxpayers to date $46 billion, while Olympia here hasn't. And so in a way, you've done more for the people of this state than anyone here in Olympia.
It's a really nice thing to say, and a lot of people say that, and I always have to remind them that I didn't do it, that thousands of people helped get the signatures to get it on the ballot. I didn't get 300,000 signatures, or like 500,000 signatures to get 695 up on the ballot in 1999. I was one voter who voted for $30 tabs in 1999. And so I always have to remind myself that the initiative process is not an I, me, it's a we, us process. The media tries to make it about the person because the theory is if we can make it about the person, if we can just get the people to not like the sponsor, then they will reject the initiative. And it just doesn't work that way. The voters are able to discern the difference between an idea and a person. And that's what I love about the initiative process, is that it doesn't matter if it's Mother Teresa or Beelzebub that's the sponsor of the initiative. Voters are going to read it and say, is this something that is, consistent with my value system? Am I comfortable with this? So you can be Anthony Mixer, a very young person sponsoring the initiative, and they will attack it and say, well, what does a young person have to know about XYZ thing? And people are going to say, well, I don't care what Anthony Mixer thinks. I care what I think. What I think is I agree with Anthony on this one, or I disagree with Anthony. It's not about the person. And so the way you said it, you said, I've saved the taxpayers that much money. I feel very good and gratified and empowered that I helped voters be able to save that much money. But I'm the first one to say that with a lot of these initiatives, I mean, a monkey could, after it qualified for the ballot, could do the campaign and still get it to pass. Because once it's on the ballot, the voters take over. And from that point on, for $30 tabs, for example, we had no money. We were $500,000 in debt because Karen and I had sold off our retirement fund and we loaned the campaign $500,000. And so we had no money. And I'm just running all over the state wearing Let the Voters Decide shirts, and I'm testifying in front of cities that are trying to pass resolutions, and the opposition's spending $5 million. And the $5 million is vote no because it's Tim Eyman's $30 tabs initiative.
Yeah.
And the voters...
They just basically spent time attacking you.
That's all it was. And it's like voters didn't buy it. Voters were like, I don't care who Tim Eyman is. Tim Eyman is not a factor in whether or not I'm voting for this initiative or not. And if it was true that was the case, well then either all our initiatives, all the ones I sponsor, would go down in flames, or all of them would pass. I mean, it's... The reason we win some and we lose some is because they're different ideas. They may be sponsored by me and co-sponsored by, in this case, Sid and Larry. We're going to be co-sponsoring these, but each one is different. Each one is a different policy connection. And the thing I feel good about is that after 22 years of doing something, you get better at it. And with initiatives, I've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't. Doesn't mean that I don't still make mistakes, but it does mean that I'm more experienced at it than anybody else. I've stepped on probably every landmine there's ever been, so I know not to step on it again. And I think there's a lot of people on the outside look at the initiative process and say, well, it's so easy. I mean, $5, file it, get your signatures, put it on the ballot. Anybody could do that. And it's like, well, if it was so easy, why aren't there more people doing it? And it's like, well, because it's flipping hard. I mean, it's really hard. It's hard to do it once. And we've gotten 17 on the ballot. It's hard to pass them because you're always outspent. Yet voters have approved 11 of them. The courts are not friendly to them. But yet, despite all those restrictions and all those limitations and all those things, we've saved the taxpayers $47 billion. Indirectly, we've saved billions more because we stopped a lot of stuff that probably would have happened if we hadn't been pushing back. And again, long-winded answer, to a simple question is that, or a statement is that saving the taxpayers' money, I think, is really, really good. But I think what's even more important is just reminding these guys that the voters have the right to be able to challenge the things you do. And if you go out of line, the voters have the right to be able to put something on the ballot and say, we think you got this one wrong. And I think just reminding voters they have that power, I think, is really the most important thing about the initiative process.
Right. Okay, so you have been harassed and targeted by none other than Attorney General Bob Ferguson himself for your involvement in taking portions of donations from your permanent offense organization as kind of a salary. And of course, his argument was you're not disclosing them to the Public Disclosure Commission. So I'm going to give you a chance to tell your side of the story that maybe the mainstream media doesn't want people to hear.
Well, I mean, I read it on Facebook, so it must be true. I saw it in the Seattle Times. It must be true. No, I guess the one that drives me the most crazy is headline reads, Eyman took campaign contributions and used them for personal use. That sentence has been splattered all over the place. And the headline is, Eyman took campaign contributions for personal use. And then they always talk about the amount of money it was. $700,000 was a number that was bantered around quite a bit. So I'm going to break down that sentence on all the various ways it's wrong. So Eyman, they got the name right, and they usually spell it right. And in politics, there is a rule. As long as they're spelling my name right, it's all good. But the second word, took. I have only controlled one bank account, and that's my own personal bank account. I'm not a signer on the campaign's bank account. I can't go to the bank and say I'd like to withdraw money out of the $30 tabs campaign account. I don't have that power. I have officers, I have treasurers, I have other people that do that. I physically can't take anything. The only money I've ever received are people who voluntarily choose to give it to me, send it to me, donate it to me. So took is a word I take great offense at because took implies that I stole or embezzled it. It's impossible for me to do either one of those things because I only have my own bank account. I can't control anybody else's. Campaign contributions. The Attorney General said that when voters sent Tim checks made payable to Tim Eyman and family, Tim Eyman Legal Defense Fund, those were campaign contributions. Richard Sanders, my attorney, made, I think, the obvious observation that these aren't campaigns. These are Tim Eyman trying to survive the lawsuit that has been brought against him. People voluntarily sent him money to survive it, and he didn't use the money for a campaign. He used it to take care of his family and pay the lawyers to defend himself. So campaign contributions implies that I went into Bank of America, I saw that they had $300,000 in the $30 tabs account, and I said to the bank teller, give me $100,000 of that, and I would like to go ahead and take that money out, and I'm going to go buy a Ferrari. That would be taking campaign contributions for personal use.
Right.
The money, the campaign donations, they literally said these were campaign donations, people who voluntarily sent me money to survive this 8.5-year onslaught. For personal use. Last part, Tim didn't take anything. Campaign contributions, they were never campaign contributions, for personal use. What pops into your head are Ferraris, vacations, glitzy, nice stuff. The last 8.5 years has been just an onslaught of the Attorney General coming after me, my family, my kids, everything. And we literally have used everything I've ever earned. All the money I've raised over the last 8.5 years is now all gone. The personal use that they're talking about is lawyers and basically family expenses. That's it. It didn't go anywhere else. How do we know that? Because once I had to file for bankruptcy, you have to open up all your books, every bank account, and they examine everything. And the AG was able to look through it all, and there weren't any Ferraris. They couldn't find any vacations, and there was no offshore account in the Bahamas. Yeah. I mean, there was just none of that. And yet, Richard Sanders, with the totally logical argument, which was, these aren't campaign contributions, therefore they didn't need to be reported, so you can't possibly find Tim Eyman guilty of any of these Fair Campaign Practices Act, because this has nothing to do with campaigns. This is about him surviving this 8.5-year onslaught. But he had a backup argument, which was, but let's say it did have to be reported.
Right.
The law says it's the treasurer's job to do the reporting. And we had a treasurer, his name was Stan Long. He was a professional CPA, he was a tax attorney, he was a former IRS investigator. He knew I was receiving this money, and he said, these aren't campaign contributions. I'm not going to put them on a campaign report because they're not campaign contributions. The AG did not just file a lawsuit against Stan Long. They never even interviewed him, never talked to him, never acknowledged he even existed. And so for the first time in state history, the Fair Campaign Practices Act has been reinterpreted to be where if a person receives money with checks paid payable to him, it's a campaign contribution, unheard of. And that instead of the treasurer being the one that's responsible for it, now it's the officer of the committee, the guy who didn't even have signing ability on the campaign account. So Richard Sanders, an exceptionally good attorney, former Supreme Court justice, made all the right arguments. Everything he said made total sense. And the judge just said, AG, what do you want me to sign? And he just signed off on every single thing the AG asked for. There wasn't it was almost like, I don't even want to look independent. Most of the time judges like to go, you know what? I'm going to split the baby. I want to look independent. I'll give them this, and this, but I'm not going to give them this, and this. So, they want to look like the judge we had on Friday. This judge did not. This judge was in for a penny, in for a pound. I gained nothing from giving an independent thought to look. So where do I sign? And so then the AG came back with this craziness where they go, okay, we've imposed a $2.6 million fine. The AG wants $2.9 million because that's how much they spent going after me. My attorneys checked out the salaries of all the lawyers that the AG's office used and said, well, they earned about $800,000. But you guys are asking for $2.9 million. So you guys want to make $2 million profit off of this over this investigation. And the judge didn't split the difference and say, well, the difference between $800,000 and $2.9 million. He just said, I'm going 2.9, rubber stamp again. Right. So $5.5 million, which I don't have, never had. And the AG knows this because my monthly bankruptcy reports report how much I have. So it's not like it's a secret. So I've got maybe like $25,000 left in the bank. And so when that runs out, then things get really weird. But I guess, I appreciate the chance to defend myself. But frankly, I don't spend a lot of time defending myself because the people who support me know this is crap. Yeah. And the people who are against me believe it all. And you're not persuading anybody. And frankly, usually the person denying it is the person who's guilty of it. And so I choose to focus on areas of where I'm being productive. And so I felt really good about what happened yesterday. And so on Monday, I'm going to put out an announcement that's going to talk about how great that was. And I will, of course, say, go to timdefense.com and please donate to my legal defense fund so I can keep fighting back against this awful thing that I'm going through. So this judge's ruling is now final. Now I have to appeal it. And appealing it is a whole new process. So I've done it for 8.5 years. I got to keep doing it. But probably for the next 3 to 4 years, I got to appeal it. But at the end of the day, I would never be where I am, where I at least got through the trial, if it wasn't for literally thousands of people taking pity on me, or charity, or or appreciation for effort and saying, I'm going to voluntarily send this guy some money to his legal defense fund so he can defend himself, because I think this is just crap. And so I just enormously grateful that there's so many people out there willing to do that. And the AG took these people and twisted them into forcing them to be considered campaign contributors, which none of them were. And during the trial, several of them took the stand and they said, we can tell the difference between a campaign contribution and a personal gift to somebody that we support, that we want to help survive this lawsuit. And when we wrote a check to the $30 Tabs Initiative, I knew I was giving a campaign contribution. When I made my check payable to the Tim Eyman Legal Defense Fund, I knew that that was not going to be used for a campaign. And so the AG said, it doesn't matter what these people think they did. And the judge bought that. It doesn't matter if they thought it was a campaign contribution. If it was a campaign contribution, it was one. So it really got to the point where it was the theater of the absurd, where words didn't matter anymore. They weren't what you would think they are. And so Eyman took campaign contributions for personal use. They got the name right. Everything else is just 1,000% inaccurate. And I guess I'd make one last rambling point, is that when you were sued, about a year before, they give you this thing called mandatory arbitration. You have to work it out. And the AG said, say everything you did was wrong, say you did it all on purpose, and we will impose a $2.6 million fine and all these restrictions on your First Amendment rights, and you admit you did it all on purpose, and this whole thing stops. And I said, well, that sounds like blackmail to me, you know? So I said, no. So what did that one thing allow me is that there was no way I could say I did something when I didn't do it. I can't say I'm guilty of something when I know I didn't. I can't say I did something wrong when I know I didn't. And this whole idea that, and the most, I gotta throw this out, this is moderately interesting, is that of all the things the AG asked for, they said, we want you to say that you, Tim Eyman, personally are a political committee. And I knew it in 2012 that I had become one, and that I purposely kept it hidden from everybody that I was a political committee. I couldn't, in good conscience, admit that I knew in 2012 I had become one, because as Richard Sanders says, never in our state's history has a person ever been one. And so therefore everything was on purpose. Everything was, it was all, I knew that these were campaign contributions. I knew, and I couldn't do it. So the one thing I got from this whole thing is I can continue to say it's all crap. Where if I had done what, frankly, Kashama Sawant recently did, was she signed a stipulation saying, I did it, and I admit I did it. And she did it, and it stopped things, and she gets $3,500.
Yeah.
Me, I get $5.5 million, she gets $3,500. But I get the right to be able to continue to say this is all crap. It is total crap, complete crap, and it is simply because our initiatives have been successful and he wants me to stop, and I can't give him the satisfaction for multiple reasons. One, I owe it to the thousands of people who helped me. I owe it to them. I owe it to my Irish heritage. I can't possibly give in on a fight. And the final thing is, the money side is just absurd, $5.5 million.
Right.
But if it was just that, I could maybe walk away from it. But these restrictions on basic First Amendment rights and saying Tim Eyman is a political committee, if I accept that and didn't appeal it, you could be next. Riley could be next. They could do the same thing to you. And if he's gonna, the good news is if he's breaking his pick off going after me, maybe there's somebody else that he won't have time to go after because he's too busy on my appeal. And so I feel like it's such a dangerous, brutally dangerous precedent that unless people go to timdefense.com and get Riley cheering, that I won't be able to appeal it, and that we'll be stuck with this as a precedent.
Right. So some short answers for these because we got to get going here pretty soon.
know,
but
I
the
suck.
issue of election integrity, you personally have stood alongside Lauren Culp as he was running for governor in the general election cycle, because you ran for governor yourself.
Did. And lost badly to Lauren. Kicked my butt. But he's a really good guy running for Congress now, and I strongly support his effort against Dan Newhouse, because Dan Newhouse is one of those 10 Republicans who ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to impeach Trump. That is nuts.
Yes.
Oh, and I got a cheer.
25.
Hey, there we go, $25.
And so is Jamie Herrera Butler. We're challenging her out of office too, but he felt that the election was stolen from him here. So, and like what we saw nationally with the election of Joe Biden against Donald Trump feels that it was stolen. I feel that it was stolen. I'm sure many people feel it was stolen. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Biggest thought about it was Stephen Pidgeon, representing Lauren Culp, brought a lawsuit to try and get this into a court where we could ask the question. Bob Ferguson is threatening Stephen Pidgeon, the attorney, and Lauren Culp with all sorts of essentially countersuits, etc. The terror they had of trying to avoid the court system kind of indicates to me that they think that there's some stuff in there that's not great. So I have no idea. Nobody really knows. So therefore, I would like to have had a court actually examine it. And when Stephen Pidgeon introduced a subpoena that said, please maintain all the records, don't destroy them, they freaked out. They literally freaked out. I mean, all of them did. And so that tells me that even they know that it couldn't withstand any kind of scrutiny.
Right. All right, so one more question. I mentioned that you ran for governor. How did you like the experience, and would you do it again? Or even for any office?
Yeah. I loved every second of it. I mean, I have some of the fondest memories of my life, I always will, from the run. I remember you and I and Riley getting a photo together where we're drenched because my launch day got hit with a rainstorm that was like mind-blowing. But then after it was over with, the clouds parted, and I got a picture with Riley with was it two or three? Two crossing rainbows behind us that were iconic. Iconic. People thought we photoshopped it. And it was like, this actually happened. I had the experience of Riley being my assistant and having my campaign pay her for her work. And Riley, how much were we paying you?
$15 an hour.
Why $15 an hour, Riley?
I don't know.
I know why. Because it would be what Kshama Sawant would insist the hourly rate be for anybody working in the state of Washington. So why not a 12-year-old getting $15 an hour? We had so much fun. I loved every second of it. I found so many people that were enthusiastic about my run. They liked the initiatives I did. But at the end of the day, the voters made their decision. They chose the other guy. And I've lived for 22 years with the idea, let the voters decide. They decided it wasn't me. I didn't go butt hurt and go, well, that's not fair, and the whole thing's rigged and, I'm going away. I went on the campaign trail with Riley, and we were like Lauren Culp's opening act. And we got some of the most amazing experiences together doing that. The final question, would you do it again? I said for 22 years I would never run for political office ever, ever, ever. And then I contradicted myself by running for governor. So therefore, I can't say I would never do it again, but I would simply say I really do believe that the reason I was put on this earth is political activism. I love everything about it. It comes out of my pores, and I just need to decide where I think I can make the biggest difference doing it. And I thought the run for governor was a piece of this tapestry that we've kind of put together over the last 22 years. It seemed to fit that into that thing. And now moving forward, I see these ballot measures being the way to do it. So what's the next part of the tapestry? I don't know. It's a day-by-day thing, but I mean, every day is just a gift. And even with all this Ferguson stuff, I know that every day I'm being politically active is one bad day for Bob Ferguson because he didn't succeed in stopping me that day from doing something. So it is a really gratifying thing that his stated purpose of the lawsuit was a lifetime ban on all future political activity for Tim Eyman. And it's like they're able to wake up every day and say, what can I do today that can make a difference? And yesterday, so gratifying, being in a courtroom fighting against the Attorney General. I mean, there's a saying, it's like when your enemy, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, when your enemy is stronger than you, you never actually, take them on frontally. You're only supposed to annoy them and everything. This was a frontal attack yesterday, and I just felt so good about it that it was a victory, willing to do that. And so, I'm going to keep swatting the nose of the bear even as he's clawing my back. I can't let go of the fight because it's what I think I was born to do.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, Tim.
Awesome.
And to our audience, you have a great day, and we'll see you later.
Anthony Mixer, Fire District, Lewis County. So that's it. Riley, give us your overall analysis of how we did. Don't have to use a lot, but and a couple of cheers for anybody who gave me money.
We gotta keep it family friendly.
Got to keep it family friendly. I don't think I did well with the double bird and the FU. I'm sorry about that, everybody. I let that kind of get away from me a little bit, so I apologize for that.
I think
not to Bob Ferguson, but to people that were maybe offended by that. Well, any other thoughts on how it went? I like it when you analyze.
it went good.
It went good?
Yes.
How did Anthony do?
Good.
He did. He's a good interviewer. He's a very good interviewer.
You went on really long rants.
I did go on long rants. There's a lot of truth to that. But I'm not sure if I don't know how to not talk.
Yes,
how many triple
I
negatives?
know.
Is that a triple negative?
I don't know.
I can't even not know how to not talk for a long time. But no, I mean, I hope, knowing that it was all optional, people listening, that always helps. Anyway, love you guys. Which direction are we? Yeah, love you guys. You're so awesome. Thanks a lot for listening in. Yes, I was long-winded with a lot of my answers, but I got like a lot of pent-up energy because I'm in this pitch battle with Ferguson where the lawyers do all the talking and I am not allowed to really say anything. Where this was a forum where I was able to do it, and I want to thank Anthony Mixer, Lewis County Fire District, shameless plug. I really want to thank him for the chance to be able to talk about a lot of this stuff. So anyway, love you guys. Appreciate you guys listening. And look for Monday's update where I'll be able to talk a little bit more about this. And I might even include a link to this one for those people that want to be able to watch it. But anyway, love you guys. Absolutely awesome. Lori Lane will adore you forever. Honestly, Lori is just amazing. And she gave me big hug yesterday, and it was just really wonderful. But Dawn and John, I want to thank you for being there as well. So, Riley, final thoughts?
Bye, guys.
Later, Gator.